Hello friend. I want to tell you about the Mercedes W204 car. As befits Mercedes, the choice of engines is large and meets the needs of practically every customer. Apart from the powerful AMG V8 versions, both inline 4s and V6s were installed under the hood of the C Class. To a large extent, a lot depends on whether the car is before or after the facelift in 2009-2010. When it comes to petrol versions, the differences are theoretically small. For example, the designation C180 compressor and C180 are almost exactly the same unit with 156 HP. However, this is not true. In the newer car, the compressor, or mechanical compressor, has been replaced with turbocharging and indirect injection with direct injection. The newer units are marked with the abbreviation CGI. But that's not all. The newer C180 has a capacity of 1.6 liters, while the older ones have 1.8 liters. After the facelift, it's a completely different engine. To make things even more interesting, before the facelift, a 1.6-liter engine was also used, but with a compressor, and the 1.8 unit was also marked as C200. The general rule for four-cylinder petrol engines is that the compressor versions are pre-facelift cars, while the turbocharged ones are post-facelift cars. The power of four-cylinder engines is 1.6L 156 hydrogen phosphide, pre- and post-facelift, 1.8L 156 hydrogen phosphide, pre- and post-facelift, 184 hydrogen phosphide, pre- and post-facelift, or 204 hydrogen phosphide, post-facelift only. The larger V6 engines have a capacity of 2.5 liters, 3.0 liters and 3.5 liters. It's easy to get confused here, because, for example, the C250 is a 1.8 turbocharged engine, while the C230 is a 2.5-liter unit in the pre-facelift model. The C280 and C300 are the same 3-liter engines, while the largest standard 3.5-liter units were designated C350. The power outputs are, respectively, 2.5L 204 hydrogen phosphide, pre-facelift, 3.0L 231 hydrogen phosphide, pre-facelift, 3.5L 272 hydrogen phosphide, pre-facelift, 292 hydrogen phosphide. From 2008, 306 hydrogen phosphide. From 2011. Diesels are a bit easier. Unfortunately, we don't have any units with a capacity of up to 2 liters, which is why new cars were expensive, and used cars are burdened with high excise duty. Of course, the most important diesel is the 2.1-liter engine used in some Mercedes models to this day. The model designations for this engine are C180 CDI, 200, 220 and 250 depending on the year and power. In the years 2007 to 2013, 136 and 170 HP versions were offered. From 2010 a 120 HP version, and from 2009 a 204 horsepower version, C250 CDI. The torque of the most powerful version of this engine is as much as 500 Nm. The second diesel engine is a 3.0-liter V6 with 224 horsepower, up to 2009, 231 horsepower, 2009 to 2013, 265 horsepower, 2011 to 2013. Maximum torque is 510, 540 and as much as 620 Nm, respectively. The top diesel is a real locomotive. Of course, next to the AMG version with power from 457 horsepower to 517 horsepower and torque always above 600 Nm. It is worth noting that the capacity of the V8 AMG engine is 6.2 liters, not 6.3 liters. Which engine to choose for the Mercedes C Class W204? In principle, every four-cylinder unit is good, some better, some less. When it comes to petrol engines, the 1.8-liter engine with a compressor, which was already used in the W203, is highly valued. It is a durable and reliable engine, although it sometimes has its problems. The problem with these units is the stretching timing chain, which makes noise when worn out. Another problem is the leaking electromagnetic valve timing actuator, which can spill oil into the combustion chamber and, for example, destroy the catalytic converter or spit it out outside the engine electrics. These are basically the only serious faults. Turbocharged engines are better in every respect. They run more smoothly, are quieter and use less fuel. It is also easier to repair a turbocharger than a compressor, because not every mechanic knows how to go about working on this increasingly unpopular device. Theoretically, the compressor is very durable, but you can't complain about the turbochargers in Mercedes petrol engines either. On the other hand, newer engines have direct injection, which involves the deposition of larger amounts of carbon deposits in the intake system, but this is a refined design that does not cause any major problems. It is worth noting, however, that a younger engine will be more expensive to repair, although on the other hand it will probably wear out less. The 2.1-liter diesel engine is also worth recommending. According to many mechanics, it is an almost armored design that will easily cover a distance of 500,000 kilometers and more. In the meantime, the equipment may refuse to cooperate, but this is also highly valued, provided that we are talking about an older type of unit. The older engine has very durable and fairly simple equipment, Bosch injectors and not necessarily a DPF filter. The newer one has non-durable, piezoelectric Delphi injectors. In the more powerful 170 and 204 horsepower versions, 2 turbochargers, and the timing chain has been moved to the back of the block, i.e. it is on the gearbox side. It is certainly an engine more expensive to repair, but also newer. In both versions, there are no complaints about the flaps controlling the intake channels, and the dual-mass wheels are very durable. In newer engines, injectors and the water pump fail, while in older ones, cheaply repaired turbocharger solenoid valves fail more often. These cause problems for mechanics in newer engines with dual supercharging. It is difficult to make a proper diagnosis. When it comes to 4-cylinder engines, a safe choice is a petrol unit, regardless of the year. Diesels are very good, but more expensive to repair, and you have to reckon with the fact that after 250 to 300,000 kilometers they may already require intervention in expensive equipment. For the more demanding, V6 engines have been prepared, both diesel and petrol. Let's start with diesel. The 3-liter engine should be divided into 2 versions, with an SCR filter marked BlueTech and without it. Each engine has a DPF filter, but while the older ones are very durable and resistant to improper use or long-term non-burning of soot, BlueTech has a delicate filter. Apart from that, it doesn't cause any major problems. Occasionally, injectors fail, and even seize at higher mileage, but it is assumed that this is mainly due to poor fuel quality and neglect of oil. There are also failures of flaps controlling the intake channels. Although almost every failure is a potentially high repair cost, the 3-liter engine is as durable and trouble-free as the older 2.1-liter, and has much better performance. So if you're going to take a diesel, in my opinion it's best to go all out and choose a V6. What about the petrol? It's hard to complain here either. Basically, the only problem with this unit is the timing chain, and the cause lies in the balance shaft adjuster, whose sprocket quickly wears out if the stretched chain is not noticed in time. The cost of repair in the worst case is about $1,000 to $2,000, pulling the engine, shaft, replacing it and related activities. But considering the potential costs of diesel repairs, it is not a disaster. Especially since this is the only one of the more serious and repeatable faults. The consolation is that the problem mainly affects models from the beginning of production. What's wrong with the Mercedes C Class W204? The truth is, not much. The body is completely resistant to corrosion, and the interior shows after years that the quality is truly Mercedes. The electrics, which were a problem for users of the first C Class, are stable. Yes, in newer cars, sometimes one of the sensors responsible for the operation of driving assistance fails, and the potential costs after collisions can cause the car owner to have a heart attack when presented with the bill, but generally you can't complain. Unless it's about a low-quality key that can simply break. The suspension is complicated and the shock absorbers are expensive, but there is no doubt about its durability. Even in cars with mileage exceeding 200,000 kilometers, it is rare to have to do anything. Only in the oldest models does the power steering pump sometimes fail and there is play in the suspension. The brakes are also durable. There is nothing wrong with the drivetrain. The gearboxes do not fail if they are regularly serviced. The oil should be changed every 60,000 kilometers at most, although it is worth shortening this interval to 40,000 kilometers in automatics. Is it worth buying a Mercedes C Class W204? Mercedes has made a really decent and solid car compared to the second-generation C Class, but you have to remember that it's still a Mercedes. What I mean is that the car is technically quite advanced and not as simple as, for example, the Audi A4, which for a mechanic is no different from a Passat or a Golf. Parts can be relatively cheap, but some repairs can cost hundreds of dollars. Engines with timing drive problems, if a major failure occurs, are often better to replace than repair, and costs can reach up to $2,000. The truth is that you simply have to be prepared for this amount of money, which does not mean that you will definitely need this kind of money. Even if you can pay for a Mercedes, do not buy it just because it is your dream and you want to fulfill it with your last penny. Buy it when you can really afford it. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know of any problems with this car that I haven't mentioned, be sure to write about them in the comments.
I have good news for you. Now, if you are planning to buy a used car, or learn more about your car, you no longer need to search for the information you need on the internet. We have collected everything in one place for you, on the website carme.pro. Here you can find out everything about the car, what breaks and at what mileage, any problems with engines, chassis or gearboxes, which trim levels are better not to mess with and how not to lose money buying a used car. You will learn all this on carme.pro.